You're listening to Dramas Over Flowers with Saya, Anisa, and Paroma. Hi, I'm Saya.
Hi, I'm Anisa.
And I am Paroma. Welcome to a long yak after a very, very long time.
Very long time.
It has been a while. But we had a bunch of shows that we wanted to talk about, so we're here, yakking.
Yeah.
Yay!
So before we jump in, we want to thank our patrons who are bringing you this entire episode. Thank you!
Thank you, patrons.
Thank you!
역시 회장님 아들.
멋있어. 환영합니다, 본부장님.
웃지 마.
네. 그냥 유니폼이라고 생각하세요.
웃으면 아이고야.
We're starting this episode with King the Land, which I am watching, and nobody else in this room is brave enough to watch with me. It stars Lee Jun-ho and Im Yoona. It's about, a chaebol heir and an employee in a hotel. And it's also about, a rich guy who can't stand fake smiles and his employee who is forced because she is in the service industry to constantly smile. And a lot of other things. We are going to talk about that as we go on. Do you guys have any thoughts about this drama? Like when you first heard about this drama, what were your expectations? Why did you choose not to watch it?
Well, okay, so I don't know. I'm hesitant to say some of this because I know people are really enjoying this show, but I really love Jun-ho, and I definitely think that he usually picks good projects, and maybe this is also a good project. I haven't seen it, but I just found the setup to be very what's the word? Kind of old school and not in the way that I enjoy. And I'm not usually a fan of Yuna's performances. She's fine. But I don't her performances don't tend to knock my socks off. I don't tend to get super excited. So because the premise was also a guy who hates smiling and a woman who's always smiling, I was just and then I watched the teaser and I was like, okay, this is not for me. But I'm sure it seems to be for other people. So, if you're enjoying it, I don't want to stamp on your enjoyment. Exactly.
Okay. Saya, do you have thoughts?
I mean, I'm not really being drawn to romances lately. That's not a premise that I look at and I think, gotta watch that. It's not for example, the drama we're going to talk about later, My Perfect Stranger, where I'm like, gotta watch that. Good or bad, I'll check it out. So it's more that, I haven't been intentionally watching romances for quite a while. But I don't hate Yoona, actually. Although I was kind of furious with her and the entire drama of The King Loves, which was the last thing I saw her in. But she's actually, that was probably one of her best outings. The reason that drama was unsatisfying wasn't because of her, it was because of the writing, which is a whole story for a whole other day, where we wonder where Song Jin-ho went after that.
And I do want to clarify, I did enjoy Yoona in The Prime Minister and I.
Oh yeah,
she was good in that.
That was 10 years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's been a while. Maybe not 10 years, but it's been a while.
Close enough. Yeah.
But she was good in that.
I do have a question though, which I've been sort of watching the dramas coming out from afar, which is, it seems like that chaebol dramas are back.
Yes, I want to talk about
definitely.
that. So let me just briefly tell you guys my experience of watching this drama.
How many episodes have you watched, by the way?
So I have seen all of the episodes that have aired before this weekend. So the first 6 episodes, and I really like this drama. I was not expecting to like it. Much like Anisa, I watched the trailer and I was like, this is not, do we really want to go back to the yore of K-dramas? And also, to your point, it looks really old school. So that was the complaint of a lot of people going into this drama who watched it because of Jun-ho and Yoona. Because they have been wanting a collaboration between Girls' Generation and 2PM for a decade. And this is what they got. And you guys haven't even, did you see that there was this, was it KBS's, the annual, some music festival, Music World, I forget what it's called. But they danced to Senorita, and and since then, and then again last year they did some other dance together, but basically it just went viral to an insane degree. And since then, people have been wanting them cast in something together. And so last year when they heard that this one was coming, you should have seen the comment section. It's just full of, it's coming, guys. Is this drama about, what were they saying? What is it called when like heirs battle for a throne? I could have just said it. Heirs
A
battle.
succession battle?
Succession war. Right. Sorry.
It's only the biggest TV show in the last 6 months.
So it's about heirs, succession war with like Chaebol backdrop, and it's going to be epic, and they're gonna, and then
He
it
who wears
turns
the
out to
crown
be
must bear the weight.
kind of, but then it turns out to be like this, rich guy meets poor hardworking girl drama, and people are like, "Oh, not quite what we were expecting."
Yeah, I mean, that role sounds very Park Min-young-y. So, like a drama we've seen many times before, starring Park Min-young. So
It actually has a very similar vibe. Except I would say Yuna's doing a really good job with this. There's something about the chemistry between these two on screen that is just making you not think about a lot of things.
Oh, okay. It's one of those. Okay.
It's one of those. But it's also the fact that this role somehow really suits Yuna. Yuna does get to smile a lot, but and she's pretty. But
she's also got like this mischievous aspect to her, which I think like Park Min-young doesn't have. That makes her much more fun in a, in that sort of gleeful way.
Exactly. And you can actually see that because the script really utilizes that aspect of her. So she has this impish side to her character that comes out pretty often, and it's super cute. And Ijuno has like an insane range, of course. So
Yes,
he
he
can
does.
go from being super vulnerable around his half-sister who hates his guts to someone who is insanely in love with this girl but doesn't know how to express his feelings. A la all Chaebol heroes of the past. And it works. Juno makes it work. He like, how in Park Seo-joon.
I was thinking of him. I was like, this is like a Park Seo-joon role.
Yeah, so you know how in Park Seo-joon's drama, What's Up with Secretary Kim, he elevated that character. There's no way that character would have been as fun if he wasn't standing in front of the mirror and throwing out his arm and just like, aura. So Ijuno's doing something similar to this role. This story would not have been watchable if not for Ijuno and Yuna, to give credit where it's due. And it's been fun so far because we've like 90% of the story is just these two, which is great. It's what you want. But also, the girls who are the female is Yuna's best friends. So you have actors Oh Pyung-hwa and Kang Daeol, and both of them are, like the three-friend situation that we've been seeing in Dramaland in the last few years. So it's very much because this is our first live format of the three friends working and their individual love lives and their career stuff. That's also happening. That's a parallel track that's going on. So you often, and all three friends work in different subsidiaries of the same empire, corporate empire. So one friend works in the airlines, the other friend works in a mall, and our heroine works as a concierge in King Hotel, and then of course later gets promoted to work in this exclusive lounge, which gives the drama its name, King the Land. The name of the lounge is King the Land.
I'm sorry, it's just such a stupid name.
It is.
That's also another reason I was like prejudiced against this drama from the start.
Like, I initially
horrible name.
thought King the Land was just like a bad translation of the title, and then I looked up the title and sounded out what it says in Korean.
Literally just, it's just
Yeah.
King the Land. Yeah.
Do you think it's like a play on Wonderland?
Maybe. There's no way of knowing. It's just
Wonderland. I mean, they actually say 이상한 나라 for like Alice in Wonderland, but it could be.
could be actually. It makes way more sense than
Then it's a
anything
pun and it
else.
works, which
Yeah.
is more in keeping with what
Yeah.
titles tend to be.
Nobody explains what these puns are.
I mean, this is a show that would have benefited from being renamed.
Yeah,
Mhm.
true.
There was no value in keeping that. They've renamed so many dramas that had perfectly
Yeah.
beautiful titles, but this one, they're like,
Exactly.
no, we have to keep it. Like, I don't understand the logic, really.
Agreed.
And yeah,
I will never stop being mad about Age of Youth being turned into Hello My
God, I hate
20s.
that one.
Yeah,
There's so many awful ones.
true. Maybe it influences the rights, like the regional rights, like something about the money they have to pay for licenses and stuff like that. I don't know. It's completely.
I think it's more of a
guesswork.
like. I think it's more of like a guesswork of what's going to work for this audience, and then sometimes that is like hampered by a lack of knowledge about that audience. And then I think also there's sometimes, which isn't often, but like there's already something in that language that has that name in that market, and they have to rename it to something else.
But in this
but that's
case,
rare. That's a rare
Yeah,
case.
yeah.
in this case, this drama's title would have been fine if they just added an "of" there, and then you'd be like, okay, I get why it's called that.
Exactly.
It just sounds so off in English. Anyway,
Like, I mean, another example, just quickly to talk about titles that changed names. For example, Reborn Rich. That's a retitling that worked because the original title is like, what is it? Chebol Chib Magneadil, the youngest son of a Chebol household.
right?
That's a
It just
mouthful.
wouldn't. It doesn't
Yeah.
work in English.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a good. Yeah, I agree with you. That's a good renaming.
Even like Crash Course in Romance. Sorry, I'm just talking about the dramas that we're actually going to talk about. Like Ilta Scandal. No one would understand what that means. It's not
Yeah.
even translatable. What
It's
is
not.
Ilta Scandal?
Exactly.
If you know Korean, you'll know what it is, but otherwise you just can't translate it. So yeah,
Yeah.
Crash Course in Romance really works. But yeah, King Dolender works if you realize that it's a play on Wonderland, which I think it is, looking at it.
They just have to explain it once somewhere. Anyway, so you have this couple who meet, and you have Guwon, played by Juno, who has been brought up in a family where it's been pretty loveless, and being constantly bullied by his older half sister, and pretty much neglected by his father, who doesn't care about much aside from the prestige of his empire. And so he meets this girl when he comes back after a pretty long time to Korea, and takes up a position, sort of a managerial position in the company for no real reason. Like, he doesn't want to own the company, he doesn't want to oust his sister, he's not very interested in a succession war. He's trying to find his mom, who's disappeared when he was a kid, and nobody explained to him why that happened. So he's just trying to find traces of her.
Oh,
Anyway.
mom trauma. I'm shocked.
Mom trauma, of course.
Shocked and surprised.
Well, I'm like, oh, sad Chebol boy, I get you, meets plucky, hardworking heroine.
Yeah.
Of course, he has mom trauma, and she's an orphan.
Okay. Of course. Of course.
She's been brought up by her very old grandmom, and just always had to depend on herself. And she's
I'm sure they have a
hardworking
childhood connection.
Whoa, I hope not. That's the only thing they haven't done till now.
But Saya, the childhood connection only became a thing like 5 or 6 years ago. This is going back to like early mid 2000s tropes, so probably not.
Didn't they always have child connections?
I think they always
didn't.
did, but not to the extent
they?
that
Not
they
to this
had in
extent.
2010s. Yeah.
Okay, why do I feel like it's so old? Not necessarily in a bad way, by the way, because like
Yeah.
it is all in the execution.
but it used to be more of like a melodrama trope and a
Oh, that's a
mukjang
good
trope.
point.
And you
Right,
used
right,
to be
yeah.
related, like for incest would come from childhood
Right.
connections you didn't know
Yeah.
about.
So it used to be in melodramas and mukjangs, and now it's in like rom-coms,
Rom-coms.
and like straightforward romances and stuff, which
Yeah.
is what has changed.
Oh no, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. See, the thing is, like, this formula works for a reason. And I would never, say, oh, like, it's bad taste for this formula to work for you, because it works for a reason. It's a classic formula. It's the Cinderella story. It's the rich man, poor woman. Like that, it works for a reason. But I find that for myself, I'm increasingly just not interested in watching dramas like this, because I feel like we always have this what's wrong with Secretary Kim problem, where even if it's done really well, so often it just falls apart in the second half. You know, you have this first half where you have the tension of the difference in their social positions, and you have the excitement of them, you know, and if they have good chemistry, you know, which it sounds like they have in this drama, which, like, you know, Park Min Young and Park Seo Joon had, and in a business proposal also, the chemistry was great, and like, so you have that initial like meet cute and the sort of the hijinks and then like at a certain point, it all just it kind of takes a turn into this sort of once they get together, then they have to live as a couple who has this gigantic power difference between them. And like, I in this year of 2022 just have trouble swallowing 2023 sorry in this year of 2023 I'm less able to straightforwardly enjoy those kind of stories where I'm just like, all corporations are evil and should die. You know, that's kind of always in the back of my head. But you know, like, it's sometimes you don't need to think that hard when you're just watching a rom-com. So that's a me problem. I accept that.
Is it a problem though?
I find like people got tired of chaebol candy romances mid 2010s. And they kind of started fading out of the zeitgeist in K-dramas. And in the last year, since Business Proposal pretty much, it's making a comeback.
It is making a comeback.
You can kind of like see... So I did this video last year, which I have unlisted and plan to republish sometime in the next week or two, about like this great misunderstanding trope that Dramaland used to use pretty often to try and solve classism. As in, they would try to bring the hero and heroine to the same level because the hero does the heroine so wrong that his remorse kind of gives her a permanent upper hand in their relationship. Sort of like that. Anyway, I haven't seen dramas with that kind of huge class divide in a few years. And then you had Business Proposal, where, you know, that was baked into the concept, that huge class divide. The conflict that comes out of that situation can be written and like explored really well, but often is not. My problem isn't so much that that conflict is coming back, because I honestly think it makes for really interesting conflict, and also because social gaps haven't gone anywhere. If anything, they have increased. So inevitably, the audience wants stories like that to be told. They want to both see the Cinderella story happening, but they also want the chaebol heir, like the prince, to come and live with Cinderella in her like poor girl cottage and like live that normal person life, like show that he's able to be human that way. Like, you want all aspects of those fantasy to play out. It all comes down to, as you said, execution. If it's badly executed, then people get super tired of this formula being used over and over again, which is what I suspect happened by the time it was 2017, 2018. So we stopped seeing that that huge a class divide. Instead, we would see smaller class divide. Like, you would have an upper class girl falling in love with the rich guy, and the rich guy wouldn't even be flaunting his background much. They would be going to school together. It's kind of like that. So, like Our Beloved Summer, for instance. Or what was that drama I watched a couple of months back? Never mind. Anyway, so...
You mean a middle class girl falling in love with a rich guy?
Sure, yes. Upper middle class is honestly working class where your parents can afford to send you to college. That's upper middle class in most countries. Yeah, so my point is that class divide wasn't that big. Like, the girl, it's not like the girl enters the guy's mansion and is floored and is like, her jaws hanging open because it's such a huge place. It's fine. She isn't like dying to be in that palace.
Yeah, we've had dramas in the past where the woman is literally homeless and the guy lives in like a castle, right? Like, these are...
Right now, I can only think of a very recent one, which is the young lady and the gentleman.
No, I'm talking about like older dramas. I haven't watched that, but like there are definitely a lot of older dramas where the girl is homeless at some point and she has to either move in with the guy for housing.
Full House. Yeah.
Full House is like that. I think Cinderella and the Four Knights. She lives with them.
Of course.
There is one whose name I cannot think of where she moves into the house with like 3 brothers and they all fall in love with her because she's their maid. Oh, there was that whole thing where like she's the housekeeper and she like lives in the house and then like
Isn't that
obviously
Cinderella
like
and the Four Knights?
this isn't just Cinderella and the Four Knights. There's also another one that I'm thinking of that I cannot remember now the name of. I can picture all the actors in my mind, but I can't. But I mean, there were so many like this. At like 2010s, there were a lot.
Think
like
of My Girl. My Girl was
My
that.
Girl, yes.
Yeah.
My Girl. Between like mid 2000s and mid 2010s, there were a ton.
A ton, I agree. So basically, the girl didn't just have to be like a hardworking person with like multiple part-time jobs. She also had to be homeless, in terrible debt, and probably running away from someone.
Yes.
And yeah, so
So
the
much
point
drama.
is that huge, like the girl being in the worst position possible, and the guy being just, you know, his, like the only problem in his life is 20 years ago his mom had left him. So it's, you know, yeah. I feel like Dramaland was trying to solve how huge a gap this was and trying to empower the girls somewhat. So now if you come back to this drama, King the Land, Yuna's character isn't really in that desperate a state. She's got all of the traits, sort of. She couldn't go to like a prestigious college. She went to like a 2-year college, which everybody looks down at her for and all of that. And, you know, she's an orphan girl. Her grandmom runs this sort of soup restaurant that's, you know, in the rural areas. And she is a self-made woman, so to speak. She got the job at King the Land through an interview that infuriated me so much. Even though, okay, let me explain, set this up. So this is practically the opening scene. And you see a series of interviews happening. The hotel is looking for part-time staff. And people are getting rejected for the most idiotic reasons. The very first candidate who gets rejected is because she's gained weight. I'll just let that hang in there for a second. That's the opening scene. And then she comes in, and the thing is, she has no expectation of getting this job because you have to have finished like a certain kind of college. She hasn't. She just came in because she wants to work in this hotel, but she knows she doesn't have the qualifications. So she was just like, whatever, I'll just try. And she impresses the interviewers because A, she has a lovely smile, and B, the interviewers, because they didn't really want to interview her, kept asking her to do very stupid things, and she humored them without question. That's it. Those were her two traits. She humored unreasonable requests, and she has a lovely smile. So she gets hired.
Yikes.
Wow. It's kind of dark, that.
Yeah, that's...
Anisa's shaking her head for the listeners and pursing her lips.
So because
That is dark.
I have like, I don't know, the ability to watch the same scene from wildly different perspectives, I can also see the other perspective where she, an underqualified candidate, is given a chance because she is such a perfect fit for this job. And she willingly exhibits that by going above and beyond, which is a very, you know, a corporate motivational way of looking at it. Anyway. So, yeah, and the person who hires her, who chooses her, is the male lead's older half-sister who's bullied him all his life. However, she is the one who spent decades of her life taking care of the hotel. But then when her half-brother comes back, her father casually says, I can leave the hotel and all of the entire corporation to either of you or none of you. I haven't made up my mind. I can just oust the sister and give the entire thing to the brother who's never had a day in the job. You know, if I feel like it. So it basically, basically makes her feel like her half-brother can come and oust her at any moment. So she hates him, even though he constantly tells her, I am not a threat to you. I don't want to battle you. She's like, and you can't blame her because of her dad. I mean, you can blame her. She's not a good human being, but you can kind of see where it comes from. Okay, so anyway, that's kind of what the whole thing is. But I find it interesting enough. The actors are really good. Most importantly, the romance. Like, it's just, sometimes the chemistry is so good, your brain kind of short circuits and you're not really thinking through a lot of things. However, there are a few things that I wish the drama would address a little better. The fact that Goan, as in Junho, keeps crossing the line. So by that I mean he keeps ignoring their difference in station within the hotel. So, for instance, like he will sit in the lounge and stare at her and just come interrupt her job and start talking to her, even though the audience and Yura's character, whose name is Sarang, by the way, Sarang knows that this is giving her the kind of attention that her colleagues will resent. And she has been victimized because of it. Anytime she's gotten special attention, it's made her day worse. But Gowon keeps ignoring that because his way of wooing her is to give her all the attention, even though they are at a workplace, but he doesn't care.
He's
Anyways.
like, I'm the crown prince. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Crown prince attitude.
The way they balance this out, the reason you don't absolutely hate his character is because when she points out, listen, it doesn't work this way, this is how you're impacting my life, he does take a step back and he's like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. But I don't know. I wish the drama would do a little more in terms of directly confronting his behavior. And hey, it's 6 episodes in. There is a lot to go. There are 10 episodes to go. So fingers crossed.
I think that inherently, you said that execution really matters. And I think with good execution, I think there's 2 things you need to really enjoy a show like this is like good execution and good chemistry between the leads. And then you're able to forgive a lot of things. But I think even when it's done really well and it's really enjoyable, there's a certain like reinforcing of particular power dynamics that a drama like this can never really escape, because the woman, ascending in status to the man's status is part of the fantasy and it's part of the enjoyment of her journey, right? Like that's part of what we're watching the show for. And so like it's never going to completely be able to separate itself from like glamorizing wealth and power in a way. Which is always going to leave me with a little bit of a bad taste. But I think like if it's done well, then you can enjoy it anyway and just be like, yeah, it's a problematic fave, which we have lots of those. So I just wanted to make that one point.
Yeah. Something that's interesting about this drama right now, which I am 100% sure will change in future episodes because they're already hinting at it, is that Gowon really has no interest in power in that company. He has no plans of staying on there as a manager. He just wants to find his mom. That's like his only reason he's in this company and he has an assistant / best friend, as all chaebols do, who is really vying to get him to be power hungry. He's like, but I just want to enthrone you. I want you to have the whole corporation. I'll do anything to help you get. And he's like, but I don't want to. I'm just in love with this girl and I want to follow her around all day. Can you just not force me to work?
I wonder if that's the episode 8 / episode 12 crisis, where for moral and ethical reasons he will have to sacrifice himself at the corporate altar and take over.
It's already
to
happening.
save.
Because
there's no universe in which he's not going to take over the company. That's just not.
That's exactly the problem.
The good guys win, right?
He is so interesting right now because he has zero interest in taking over the country. Yeah, might as well.
Thing, P,
it's the same thing. Honestly, this is just a saga in modern clothes.
Exactly.
The company, but the fact is that they're already doing that. And here is how you know the drama is moving in that direction, because there was an incident where he has to send his team of concierge people, I don't know what these people are called, who work in his lounge, which is directly under his control.
Minions? Eunuchs?
Okay, sure. But Sarang is one of them. Anyway, so they have to be sent off to people primary sources of produce that comes in for the food and stuff like that. So Sarang has to go to the mountains to meet this farmer guy and stuff, and she gets stuck there during a rainstorm and somehow manages to fall off a cliff and is just stuck there. And somehow it makes no sense how it happens, so just somehow. Okay, now you also. I wish you could just watch that scene and explain to me how that happened. Anyway, so Gowon, who can't reach her because of course he's constantly trying to call her, is like, she's in danger. I must go to save her. And so how are you going to go there? because rainstorm's starting, his idea is to get the company helicopter. So he barges in on his sister's meeting. So she tells him, no, one employee's life is not that valuable. You know how expensive it is to run the helicopter, even for a single ride. And he's like, how can you ever, I don't know, make great profit if you can't even value a single person's life? I forget. Anyway, he has some line on those themes. He's only interested in this one employee. He's also sent off a bunch of other people. He has no interest in any of their lives.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
He steals the helicopter and goes to rescue her with no plans. Like, he has no backup. He just jumps down the same cliff, and then the two of them are sitting at the side of the cliff waiting for somebody else to find.
Do you know what I love most right now is Anisa's expression?
I'm just like, nothing that I'm hearing from you is making me want to watch this drama anyway.
I'm telling you, if it was not for Juno and Yuna being the most adorable together in every scene they are together, there is no reason to watch this drama.
This is like the kind of role that Kim Young-gwang also just can make you not hate. Like that kind of actor, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're ridiculous. You're just ridiculous in every possible way, and yet somehow you have me rooting for you. I hate you, but also you're really funny.
Really funny, wears the suit really well, extremely charismatic in your obnoxiousness. Yep.
Yeah.
I have 2 points which kind of move, like, they connect this drama to the next one we are going to talk about that I'm going to quickly mention. King Dalan actually does a ridiculously good job of showing classism at work, in the workplace. Like, problems of hierarchy because of class, because of money, because of actual seniority, all kinds of hierarchy. It actually does a really good job of showing those problems. But the issue lies in how the drama thinks the solution will happen. The solution will happen, A, if you are the most hardworking person and always go above and beyond, you will eventually be recognized by the company and rewarded for it. And B, the rightful heir will come and save you all. Because the problem isn't the corporation, the problem is who's running the corporation, of course. So, yeah.
It's the same issue that I have with dramas like sagas that center around the monarchy, because ultimately the monarchy is never questioned as the rightful way of ruling the country. It's just that the wrong person is sitting in the king's throne.
Yeah.
And once we get the rightful, who somehow is also, the crown prince, what a coincidence. He also, the reluctant crown prince who doesn't really want power, but he's the right one for the crown. And once he's sitting on the throne, everything will be solved. And that's just like, it ain't for me.
You say that, but like somehow for me, that setup in a saguk, not I think in a modern one, but like certainly in a historical royal context, I can take it. But if you put it into like a modern chaebol context, I can't not see that. Like, that will always be there as that sort of
I can
bitter,
understand that.
Not even an aftertaste. It's like the bitter pill that is in the center of everything. Every bite that you take, you taste the bitterness. Yeah. But I think partly that's because the saguk is in some ways a fantasy. Like there's a certain premise.
The modern drama is also 100% a fantasy.
It is, but because of the trappings, because it resembles like a life that you recognize in a world that you know, it doesn't carry the same distance and removedness that you have in a saguk.
Also, because who else is going to take the reins of the country other than, royalty, like other princes in the family? So the pool of people who can come to power is reduced to those. And amongst them, if the crown prince happens to be the best option, you kind of can't fault the logic of the drama if it's actually a sagyuk set back in those days.
Ultimately, like, there was a monarchy back then. What are you going to do? That was
and
the
also,
only
like the
option.
crown prince, if he is deposed, will likely lose his life. It was literal life and death, not fake life and death like it is with chaebol heirs.
Yes, that's a very good point. Okay, should we move to the next one?
Yes.
반점 씨 혹시 우리 어디서 본 적 있나요?
네. 혹시 전생을 믿으세요?
넌 전생을 믿어? 난 믿어. 왜냐하면
난 전생을 기억하거든.
So next is another drama set in a hotel which is
really?
involves a romance between the boss and the employee. See You in My 19th Life. So I have only watched 2 episodes of this, but I'll just like give a quick setup of the premise if you haven't seen it. Basically, you have Shin Hye-sun, who plays the current incarnation of this person who is now on her 19th life. So in the way that things work in this drama is everyone gets reincarnated, but she remembers her past lives for some reason. We don't know why, or at least you don't find out why in the beginning. And so like you see her, in this 19th life growing up, and you see kind of flashes of her previous lives. And so in this life, basically her motivation is to find the boy that she loved and kind of had decided to take care of basically in her previous life, where she died really young. And so he's actually still alive, or she thinks that he might be still alive. Spoiler alert, he's still alive. He's played by An Bo-hyun. She basically makes all of her goals in this life around finding a way to get close to him where he is, and getting to him and basically like making sure he's okay, because he has like a pretty sad backstory, I guess. And she feels responsible for him because of their history together. So once they're like grown-ups, he's running a hotel. She decides to apply for a job at the hotel. She gets the job through like also very ridiculous job interview. And then they're in each other's orbit, and you can see that this is going to be great. Can I give some of my thoughts, or do you want to give your thoughts first? So I think what I love most about this is like, I love the premise. It's just a very different premise that I haven't seen before. I know this is based on a webtoon. I haven't seen the webtoon. I mean, I didn't read the webtoon. Let me not talk about how it was adapted because I don't know what the original was, but I think it's really beautifully done in the sense that you really get the sense of like a person who has lived many lives. And Shin Hye-sun does this really well, but even like her like child actor self is so good. Like she's like a 9-year-old, but she's like an ajushi, she's like walking around, like she goes to find, her niece from another life when she was the uncle, and like it's the most precious thing ever because you have this like little person who's like got the the knowledge of like many lifetimes of living, and the way they do the flashbacks from her previous lives is like really well done. Obviously put a lot of effort into it, they put the budget in. It's very funny also. Like they play with it humorously as well. Shin Hye-sun knocking out of the park with her acting. Like I noticed in a couple of the scenes that like she walks in a similar way to the child actor so that you're able to connect her with that kid and feel like it's the same person, like she keeps some of the mannerisms. I mean, Shin Hye-sun is our queen. What can I say? Even this anti-monarchist has to name her as the queen. And I love them together, and I think they're like going to be really cute. And I'm sad that I didn't get a chance to watch more episodes because life has been really busy, but I'm excited to catch up. You're watching this too, right, Paroma?
I'm watching it, and I've watched 7 episodes. It's kind of going at the same pace, and both are weekend dramas, King the Land and 19th Life. So it just they finish airing, and I start watching all of them. So most of my Monday goes on like catching up with 4 episodes.
Nice.
That's why you work on the weekends. I see.
That's a good way to do it. Do the work and then reward yourself instead of procrastinating and not doing any work and watching dramas. Yeah. I'm proud of you.
So yeah, I plan ahead. I have read the webtoon, and when I heard that they were making this into a drama, I was so excited because the webtoon is written almost like a drama. Like you could visualize dramatic scenes on screen as you were reading the webtoon. So it's actually not surprising because a lot of webtoons these days are written with sort of drama scenes in mind. Like the narration is done almost as if it can easily be adapted into a drama. So many webtoons are easily adapted into a drama. I was pretty sure that unless they were actively trying to ruin the story, they would do a good job. But they have actually exceeded my expectations. They have done such a great job of adapting the story because it doesn't feel like I am just watching the webtoon that I had read. It's faithful to the story, but it's not exactly the same. They have enhanced parts of it that I hadn't no needed more exploring. For instance, all of the glimpses of her past life that you see in the drama, there hardly was any of that in the webtoon, because once it had been established that she had lived that many lives and you saw a few panels of flashback, the story mostly focused on her current life, where she's this 24-year-old Banjium, and her immediately previous life, her 18th life, where she was this 12-year-old girl called Juan. And that's it. The drama pretty much forgot about all of the 17 lives she had lived before that. For majority, like it does come back towards the end, but for majority of the story. And that, I think, would have been a disservice to this character, because she draws from her previous life so often. Her knowledge of different cuisines, different languages, just the confidence with which she carries herself. You just don't get that from one lifetime where you are a 12-year-old. The reason this whole chaebol employee romance thing, as well as the fact that in story, Shinhei-san's character is supposed to be considerably younger than Anboyeon's. I think easily 10 years younger. And the reason this power differential here isn't as annoying is because of the, 1,000 years of just lived experience in her. She has been a man, she's been a woman, she's been a mother, a father, a child. She's gone through many wars and famines. She's been like taken away from her mother. She has lost her child. It's just like the amount of experience in this body. And most of what I said right now was only fleshed out in the drama, because like I said, the webtoon really just give us brief glimpses, enough for it to whet our appetite but not really go into it. And I love the webtoon, I genuinely do. I just think the drama did such a great job of building on top of it. And man, Shinhei-san was such great casting. Like I said, I mean, there is no one else that you could give this character to who would make her feel like a 24-year-old, but also someone who has the confidence of, I don't know, 100-year-old. It's just, she is everything. And when she puzzles everybody else, because she talks about, this is something I used to do when I lived here. And then she has, like in her resume, there is no mention of her having ever lived in any other country, or she just randomly references a past experience, and they're like, there is no way a 24-year-old has this experience, but like they can't really say anything because she says it with so much confidence. It's everything. And also the fact that she is the romantic pursuant, I don't know how to, like she's the one who pursues
She's
An
the
Boyeon
pursuer.
romantically.
Yeah, she's the pursuer, yeah.
And it's not like initially like, he is wary of her because she is very forward with her intentions. I wouldn't say
and she's very weird also.
She's
very weird.
about it.
She's extremely weird. I love it, but she's so weird. And so like it's nice to see that he's actually suspicious, because you would be suspicious.
Right? And the thing is, he is like, you are way too straightforward. A, B, she slips up and calls him Soha at sometimes, which is his name. And there is no way somebody who's 10 years younger and his employee would call him by his name. And like she does it just out of his hearing. Oh, the other thing that I loved about this drama, he has a hearing disability from an accident in his childhood. And in the webtoon, it's more psychosomatic, like it's physical, but like it's not like he completely can't hear. It's only, he just has to pay attention when you're speaking, and that's fine. But he doesn't actively use any hearing aid. But in the drama, he does. To the point where during a dinner conversation with his horrible family, he realizes that it's going to just be awful and he hates being there. So he just takes out his hearing aid at one point. He doesn't want to. It's just like those dramatic moments are made so much better because of that earpiece, and also because it's a proper disability that the drama's allowing the hero to have. It's just, we don't have enough of that.
I agree. And I also like that it doesn't only show up in dramatic moments. There's also just like conversations. Like there's one conversation that's like really tense that he's having with his dad. And his dad is like telling him something. He's like, wait, do you have your hearing aid on? He's like, yeah, let me put it in. And then they just like go back to having their really tense. And you're like, yeah, like this is normal. It's just like, it doesn't always have to be this like tragic, dramatic, like, it's just it becomes part of your life. And I like that they show it as a daily part of his life, that he just, like, it's not stigmatized. It's just part of his life, and maybe he faces, I haven't seen much of it, so maybe he faces discrimination because of that. But there's also, like, the discrimination piece is not the only piece, right, of having a disability. Part of it is just making allowances for it in your daily life, and that your daily life looks a little different than other people's. So I like that they included that.
Agreed. He also has trauma that doesn't really allow him to drive a car. So he's dependent on his bestie slash assistant, as she will always have, to drive him around. It's like there are layers to his trauma. It's not just something that is like, it only comes out during romantic interactions. It's an actual part of his life, which is just good writing. There is this other thing that I absolutely love is the second lead. So if you guys watched Business Proposal and enjoyed the second leads, at least until episode 7, you're going to love these two. And I knew it. I knew when I was reading the webtoon that if they ever make this drama, this second lead pair is just going to be insanely popular. The second female lead is played by Ha Yun Kyung, which is Spring Sunshine from Extraordinary Attorney Woo. And she is the sweetest, guys. She is so sweet. Is it okay if I spoil who she is? Should I?
No?
No? Okay.
I mean, you find out who she is in, like, episode 2, but...
Should I say it or should I not? It's actually very obvious. You can kind of tell from the very first episode who she is.
Okay, I'm going to take my headphones off. You say it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So this is Banjium's sister from her previous life.
Yeah.
Okay. Put it back on.
Okay.
Okay. I have said who she is and I'm not going to say it again. Okay. So anyway, she and the female lead become really good friends, and it's a really supportive, relationship. And of course, she is in love with the bestie slash assistant of Moon Se-ha, which is the male lead.
No, but
So
I
what's
thought she was in love with the male lead. That's the impression I got in episode 1 and 2.
See, I asked you if I should spoil this or not. No, he is much older than her. She just she shares a trauma with him because of you know what.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that actually really hated that, so I'm glad you told me that. Because I was like, really? Do we have to do this? Okay. I'm glad that you told me that.
The one thing that mildly, it didn't annoy me. I was kind of expecting it because the female lead being like the second female lead being the female lead's rival is so set in Dramaland. I was expecting that to be played out in that way for a little bit. In the webtoon, they don't even bother with that. By like the second conversation, because the female lead kind of she doesn't suspect. She needs to know early on if there is anything going on. So she just asks the girl and then finds out there's not.
Okay.
So it's done so quickly. It's out of the way so fast.
Okay, that's good to know. Because I was not looking, especially given that history and that relationship, I was like, no, I don't want
my
that.
point is that she was such good casting for Chowon. There are some really great emotional scenes between her and Shin Hee-san. And I never thought I would say this, but she was better in those scenes than even Shin Hee-san. She was the one who had the more emotional part, so it kind of makes sense. Because Shin Hee-san in a lot of those... Okay, I think this is one of the drawbacks of this drama. Even though this might not strike a lot of people as a drawback, it does to me. Shin Hee-san is a very expressive actor, right? But because she is embodying this character who's lived some 19 lives, 18 lives, she's living her 19th, she has to be a little bit mystical. She has to be a little bit...
esoteric.
She doesn't have any extreme emotional reaction. There is only one that I can think of when she kind of saw her mother from her previous life. And it was a beautifully done moment. But aside from that, she's not really allowed to really emotionally express herself. And I think that is a bit of a disappointment because you're watching Shinhei-san and she's amazing at those. But oh my God, this was such a great part for Ha Yun-kyung, Cho-won's part. I'm so glad she got this so soon after Extraordinary Attorney Woo, and I'm pretty sure she's going to end up with a female lead role like soon.
I'm so happy that now that I've my misgivings about her role I've been assuaged. Because when I saw her I was like, yes, I'm so excited to see you, and like also excited that she has a larger role. It seems like she has a decently large role in this. I also just like aesthetically I love her like garden and her business. I was just like, can I live there? Like what? Like this is like perfect.
In the webtoon, she was like the daughter of another chaebol family, where basically Banjium's. Okay, this is one of the funnier things about 19th Life. In her 18th life, Banjium was like, I finally was born in a wealthy family. This is like the nicest life I've had. My parents are lovely. Everyone around me is lovely. It just, she had like a proper privileged life. She'd never had that before. And then she dies. And so
early,
in her 19th life, and obviously in 19th life, when the memories come back to her, she's like, yeah, this makes sense. Now I've been again born in a hovel with two horrible parents. It's just, okay, this makes sense. This is my, of course, the other one got shot. It's like, oh man. Yeah. Anyway, so this is a drama that's funny and heartwarming, and even though this is kind of like a chaebol employee romance, it kind of bucks convention and reverses a lot of expectations simply because of the fantasy element. It just comes in and doesn't allow the terrible dynamics at play to actually play out that way.
Yeah, no, I don't have any of those same reservations that I had about King the Land and its ilk about this show, and I'm really excited to watch more. You should watch it, Saya.
I'm sitting here thinking, which one should I start first?
Between
Suddenly
this and...
I'm tempted between this and King the Land. I mean,
are you tempted by King the Land? Did I?
That and I went and I read the MDL descriptor, and it's like, forewarned is forearmed.
That's true. That's true. Yay.
And I was thinking of Hotel de Luna as well. There's something interesting about the hotel setting, which is quite, I mean, it's almost a genre. I was sitting here trying to come up with a list of hotel dramas, and I came up with
it's absolutely a genre.
Yeah. Hotel de Luna, 19th Life, King the Land, Hotel King, Hotelier. I'm sure there's like loads in between and outside of K-drama
Secret
as well.
Hotel.
Oh yeah, my very first recapping drama. I forgot about that one. It's, like, professions are interesting.
And K-dramas do professions well. They do the workplace. Yeah. They do, like, an interesting job as a setting for, like, a rom-com. They do that really well.
Yeah, like airport dramas. For example, Where Stars Land, which the drama wasn't... It was disappointing for various reasons that we've talked about. But the airport stuff was so interesting.
The airport stuff was extremely interesting. Yeah, I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah.
나 학원 하나만 끊어줬어. 일타 채취할 거. 일타 채취할?
울었어요. 텅. 끝났습니까 벌써?
너한테 반했다니까 그 남자.
아주 빠졌다니까.
So, Saya, you recently watched Crash Course in Romance, right? You finished that pretty recently?
I binged it in 2 days, yes.
Yes. So now all three of us have seen it. So let's talk about it. You go first since it's fresh in your mind.
Okay, I'm just going to say it and then we'll move on from there. Jung Kyung-ho is too handsome. Okay.
No arguments here from here.
Yeah, so this drama stars Jeon Do-yeon, who plays a retired national athlete now running a banchan shop and raising her niece as her daughter. And that, I don't know, is that getting complicated? That's too detailed.
Because she adopted her pretty much.
She
have a mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah. So it all takes off when her daughter is like, I want to attend a hagwon for like maths with this star teacher, and the star teacher is Jung Kyung-ho, who, much like Kim Ji-wook, that's his name, right? In Crazy Love, is like this genius. What I don't know. Is he? Yes, he is, isn't he?
Yeah, both of them are
A
geniuses.
genius maths instructor.
A genius
like
maths instructor who is also like extremely popular and has fandom.
Yeah, like a celebrity instructor.
And winning capitalism. It's important. You can't just be a teacher.
Very
You have
important.
gotta
Very
be.
important.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, this is all about like it's in the private education sector completely. So that's like a whole side of the story as well. And they have an unfortunate encounter during which neither of them like knows the ways in which they may or may not be connected. And it all comes out later, and that's part of the fun of how the story unfolds. But yeah, it's just a very endearing show. You've got like Jeon Doyeon, who is playing. She's not like one of those beat up ajumas who are trying to find a second chance at life type of thing. She's actually she's pretty happy. She's good with her life choices. From when she took her niece/daughter in, she made certain choices about her life, and she's very at peace. And I really like that. Like it makes you less nervous about watching it. Which I realized is a thing for me. Like if I feel tension watching it, that makes me not go back to it. But also if it doesn't have tension, I might not start watching it. It's complicated. I can't explain.
I feel you there. I feel you.
I think it needs to have conflict but not tension. That's
right.
maybe what you're saying.
Or tension but not angst. I think the angst is the thing that really like makes it difficult for me to hang on to a show.
For me, it's the tension of like, is this drama gonna do something that I don't like in like 3 episodes? I'm okay with conflict, but I'm like, sometimes I start seeing these like red flags and I get the sense of dread and then I'm like, oh no. And then I just stop watching it.
I love it when you have these male leads who are just like, they're too handsome and they're complete dorks. You're like, their handsomeness is cancelled out or equalized by their complete cluelessness at life or their ability to sort of manage life, I think. And like Jung Kyung-ho, he has that kind of miskeen, like bichara kind of aspect to him, which makes him not unbearable and not insufferable. So you're like, even when he's kind of extra, you also feel very sorry for him. A little sorry for him.
He's so I really love his character. Like I loved both of them because they're both just like really genuinely good people doing their best in life. And I love that. You're rooting for them both from the beginning. It doesn't start with this like one of them horrendously wrongs the other one and now we have to somehow root for them to get together, which is always like very hard sell for me. But with him, I love how they undercut a lot of power, a lot of privilege, a lot of handsomeness, a lot of money with this extreme vulnerability from almost like episode 1 or 2 where you see that, like on the outside, he looks like he's living the most successful life possible. But he has all these wounds and he has all these like, like health problems and like issues and he's like barely hanging on to his life, sort of like he's just like barely getting through it. And so in a way it was a lot more relatable than this like successful man with like a secret pain in his past, because it's more like, oh, like this person is really struggling hard to get through every day and like that's
and like he's fed himself to capitalism, right?
And it's taking a toll on him.
That's not a way to live.
Exactly.
I really loved, without like spoiling it or giving away the ending, there was like a very, not quite a speech, but like something he said to one of the characters towards the end, and you'll know what I mean if you've watched it, where he says that seeing me live like that, like not being able to sleep and not being able to eat, and all of those things, you thought that was what I wanted out of life, rather than being, with somebody I love and who loves me, and being like happy and at peace and content and able to eat and able to sleep and able to look forward to each day like a normal human being. Like that, it was really like written.
I love that so much.
The drama
Very
just
beautiful.
Completely overturns that idea of like, what is success? Where he's like, that's not success, actually. That was hell. That was a living hell for me.
Yeah, exactly. As I was watching this, I very sort of clicked into the Anisa and the murder rom-com thing. I was like, oh, this is a murder rom-com. Where did it come from? Why? But it was actually pretty well done. I was more invested in that storyline for quite a long time. And also it made me think a lot about, Strong Woman Do Bong-soon. And one of the reasons I really didn't like 2/3 of that drama was because those storylines were really disparate. Like, it was just 3 different dramas, somehow pasted together, and it didn't work except for the romance part of it.
There was definitely like a tonal whiplash between those different.
Yeah.
The reason I loved Crash Course in Romance so much is exactly because of how they redefine personal success. Because Jeon Do-yeon's character, for instance, is quite successful. She has her own side dish shop. She is the owner, and she had nothing when she started out. She had to drop out of her team because she had a tiny child to take care of her, and she had just lost her mother. And her coach was not supportive when she needed to take time off to take care of the child. So she just left it. And she is a woman who's shown to make clear decisions when she thinks they're important, and she follows through. And this is a consistent character trait that they have shown. So it's not surprising that with hard work over time, she's managed to basically create her own business. And
she's embraced her life.
She's embraced her life, and she has excelled in it. And not only does she have her own banchan shop, it's in a really nice part of the town. It's very close to this huge star academy. It's, the moms who take their kids to that academy come to her shop to buy their regular
customers. Yeah.
Upmarket customers, exactly. So it's really nice to see. As you guys said, she's not a heroine in desperate circumstances. She is a woman who has her own business, who's quite stable and has given her daughter a good upbringing. And her daughter is more hesitant to ask her mom of certain things because she has seen the financial struggle. But from her mom's perspective, she just wants to give her daughter everything. And she will work harder if necessary to give her daughter that. So it's just nice that at no point do they have to run to, loan sharks. And, they don't have to borrow money from anyone.
Yeah.
It's just really, really solidly and lovely. So that's one success. And on the other hand, you have the star math teacher played by Jung Kyung-ho, who is living in hell. Like you guys said, he can't eat. All he does, his entire life is consumed by his job. And even though he gives his all to that job, you see instances where he is either harassed by
Nobody likes
suffering
him.
fans. Yeah, and also he's just generally disliked by everybody in his company.
Sad.
And he just has no life outside his work, and it's consumed him to a terrible point. And there is not much that he's getting in return. He's getting obviously money. That is a lot in return. But in terms of social nutrition and health and just anything that makes him feel good, he gets absolutely nothing. At one point in the story, when he really would have helped if his company would have backed him up, they don't. Because at the end of the day, in a capitalist society, no matter how much you have poured yourself into a company, if the company thinks that you are an obstruction to their profit making, they will get rid of you and find somebody else.
You're replaceable.
You are always replaceable and dispensable. So it's a very interesting perspective to see Checheol, the star teacher, go through that versus Jeon Do-yeon, who has a stable business. The only time she goes through a problem is when certain rumors are circulated about her, but she stays steady. She gets through that situation, and then those people come back to her again because her food was that good. That's fine. But my point is, she has control of the means of production. That helps her be less replaceable. I just really liked. I don't know that this drama was trying to make that point, but I loved the small business support versus the vulturism in a large business that the story showed us through.
Absolutely.
And her self-sufficiency. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think this show is so smart about the institutions that kind of underpin our lives and are kind of ever present in you know, the type of society we live in now in like a postmodern world, like your work and for the children, the school, and then for the moms, it's like both, you know, that is such a huge like structure that you are always kind of in, and it affects your life in so many ways. And this drama really shows that, you know, like it's not like the dramas where you have a, you know, people who are, you know, like for example, something like What's Wrong with Secretary Kim, where like they're in a company, they don't really do that much work. Sometimes you see them working, but it's more like a backdrop, you know? But here, you know, like you see him like making his lesson plans, staying up,
Yeah.
coming home exhausted, putting his, you know, like you see him teaching, and you see why he's such a good teacher. Like you can see him doing the work and you're like, oh yeah, this guy would be successful because he's an incredible teacher and he really cares about his students. And then you also see the toll that takes on him. And then you see also with Jun Do-yeon, like yes, she owns her own business, but also like you see the precarity of owning your own business when you're not a huge company, and like, you know,
Yeah.
losing your customers for a couple of weeks is really bad.
Yeah.
And somebody always has to be at the store, and so like their family, you see them like doing that, you know, like someone has to be there. If something happens, like she can't just like drop everything. Someone has to watch the store, and like
Yeah.
they do it in a humorous way too, but like it's there, right? Like that is, and so I think that is really well done. And then also like I think the school stuff, I also thought they did a really good job. I mean, obviously I don't know what it's like to go to school in Korea, but like they I feel like they addressed it in a realistic and substantial way for the kids too. And I really liked the life that we saw of the kids and their school life, and you know how the different kids who are kind of in different circumstances and have different levels of like ability to like take advantage of the private tutoring system, how they kind of approach school and approach each other. Like I thought all of that was really interesting. Then you have this whole other system of like these moms who have their own private
Yeah.
tutoring social media, and they have so much control. And then you see the whole like private school ecosystem, or like the private tutoring. Like I think that stuff was really thoughtfully done, and I was really impressed by it.
These are the times where you think a lot about how, you know, you watch a drama and you're like, that's just too extra, that can't be real. But you're like, no, this is probably like watered down real life. Like, you know, this is more just, yeah. Wait, I can't speak.
And we can add this to the genre of getting your kid into school with the help of a murderer. Genre of Sky Castle. It all connects.
The way
It
that
all
that's
connects.
a genre, man. Yeah, I mean, this drama was kind of like, it felt like part Sky Castle, part Strong Woman, Do Bong-soon, part Crazy Love. Like, those are the three ingredients in this drama. As I was thinking about it when I watched it, I thought that was quite, like, it was well done. It was balanced in a way that a lot of other dramas don't manage the balance as well.
Before we get back to the ending, I just wanted to mention one other thing about the relationship between the leads. I really appreciated the reciprocity between them. So he needs her because literally like he can't like eat unless she makes him food. And she needs him because the person that she loves the most, her daughter, needs his help because she's been like put into this bad situation with the tutoring, and you know, because of the unfair like mom machinations by the ones who are like jealous of the fact that she's smart. I mean, we don't need to go into all of that, but like they both need each other. And so like that initial friendship that they form is based on like reciprocity, and like that equality between them never really goes away. Yes, they have that misunderstanding in the beginning, but it doesn't last that long. They never were really like at war with each other. And it's so nice. It's just so nice. I love how, you know, and like I also really love how despite the obstacles of like him thinking that she's married, and her thinking that like he would never be interested in someone like her given like, you know, her age and her position in life, they always are like so vulnerable to each other in like human ways, and that never really goes away even when there's like some conflict or some, you know, whatever the angst that has to come in a romance. Like there is some of that, but it just it's just such a lovely relationship. I just loved it so much. I just loved them.
Yeah, I did too. start talking spoilers because I want to talk about like the middle to the end portion.
Yes. Okay. All right. So from now on, spoilers. Be warned if you haven't watched it.
To continue on from what you were saying, the thing that I really like about the relationship is that we are actually shown a adult relationship once they, confess and start dating, and it's lovely. It's really sweet to see them together, spend time together. And at one point, when she is suspicious of his assistant, like he does not have a good niyat. What's a good English word for that? Intentions.
Yeah.
His she can tell that there's something off, but like you have Chiol trusting him so much because he's depended on his assistant for so many years, that he's hesitant to just immediately, and I understand.
Like,
honestly, he trusts him, but he's not dismissing her concerns, but he doesn't understand where it's coming from. So he doesn't want her to feel bad, but he also doesn't immediately want to distrust his assistant.
That was
and
such
I
a
like
good
that.
fight.
That was great.
And also she understands the difficulty that he would have in being able to believe her and see what she sees because of their relationship, which is also such a mature way to go about that. Go on, Anisa.
Agreed, exactly.
Yeah.
And that fight was particularly nice because she takes a stand for, like, this happens over time. It's not just one conversation. She brings up a situation, and because she's also hesitant, she doesn't exactly know if her instincts are right, if she's seeing the right things. Maybe she's misunderstanding the guy. So there are several instances that happen until at one point something happens, he says something, and she's like, that's it. I can't allow this in my life. So she tells Chiol that, listen, I understand where you're coming from, but I can't. This is my line. So let's take some time apart and like think about it. But like, I like that she drew a line, and it wasn't like in a fuss. Nobody was screaming. There were no ultimatums thrown around. It just, she has a boundary. She's telling him that this is what I have seen and this is what I feel. Now it's up to him what he does about that. Like, he needs to process that too. Like, it's so nice. Just the entire thing was so nicely
so
done.
real, right? Because you often have these, one person has had a relationship with somebody for many years, and so they're so inside it that they might be missing these signs. Whereas like a third party can come in and see it really clearly. But then again, like, they're a third party and they're new, so then they're like, don't have the standing to really say anything, and they don't want to like be this new person who's interloping in this like long held friendship. Like, that's a dynamic that exists when you're in a couple, sometimes when you have a new relationship. And I loved that they, like, I don't think I've seen that done this well. And I mean, it's not always like a murderer, but like it happens where you might have like, you might get married and your husband has like a really toxic best friend, but he's like, no, this guy's my bro. We've been together for 15 years. Like, he got me through so much hard stuff. And you're like, dude, this guy is not helping your life, and they can't necessarily see it. And so for her to be like, well, I have the self-respect I don't need to be in this situation. And it's like, okay, so I'm not telling you to break up with your friend, but I'm not, like, she did it in a really mature way. She's such a boss, honestly. Like, the way that she handles life is just so aspirational. I just loved her character so much.
And also, my God, who had problems with her clothes? She wore the best clothes. Honestly, those loose, what were they, khaki? I don't know what you guys call it. Like those loose pants with like those loose t-shirts, and like sometimes she would wear like a cami inside. I just loved it. The whole look was just casual.
Very comfy.
I can fix a car today, or I can, just go out.
I mean, she's a woman who works.
For a walk in the park.
She's a woman who works. She needs to wear clothes that she can work in, but she brings her own personal style to it, and she's cute. Like, I don't understand why people were bragging on her so much. Her best friend, on the other hand, terrible clothes. And like, what were those, like, the clip with the bow on it? Like, what the heck was that?
Oh, I liked that as a character touch. Like, it took me a while to notice that they were changing that it was a character touch. Like, she was always wearing the clip, and it was always like a different color of the same clip. But that's kind of what makes characters. Like, that's the kind of thing. Like, think of your friends in real life. they'll have that one thing which you're just like, this is inexplicable, but it's your choice, and like usually that person is me.
I did love that she was actively always looking to like have a social life outside her work, and that was part of her character. Like she was always, finding a group to join. She was
also very self-aware about putting men first, which I found very refreshing. Like
also, like this actress Lee Bong-geun is also, she just brings such a like amazing energy to everything. She has this like weird unni energy. I don't know how else to describe it. She's just like that slightly off unni, oddball, but like she has a secret life, kind of. That energy, She knows things. She might not tell you. Yeah.
Agreed. I really like that. I wasn't initially on board with her romance with Heng Son's younger brother, who's autistic, because he seemed to be.
I was a bit confused by that portrayal. Yeah. Like
I wasn't sure what to feel about it or think about it. And then I decided not to feel or think about it because...
Yeah, that's exactly where I went.
Yeah. I saw some positive discussions about it on Twitter and Tumblr by autistic folk. And so I just decided like, shut up. And because it's, I don't know, honestly, how good of a portrayal this was. Yeah.
So like some expressions of autism do leave you like unable to take care of yourself in certain ways, and that would then make the friend like creepy and like he would have been more infantile, and he seemed a bit more infantile in some ways. So I just didn't know what to make of that relationship. But yeah, as Paroma said, I was just like, I'm just going to put that on the side and not think about it. Like, let's, if I'm going with their intention, they're just saying, oh, okay, this guy has ASD. And so he's a bit unusual, but he's like a functioning adult who is able to understand consent and all of those things in an independent and adult way. But that wasn't quite the portrayal that they showed of him in
the fact that
the show.
He needed interventions of a regular caretaker so much is kind of what made because if you go back to Extraordinary Attorney Wu and the portrayal of the main lead, her being in a relationship with an autistic person doesn't feel jarring because she honestly doesn't need a regular caretaker. She can completely independently take care of herself. Whereas the child, the kid who accused of murdering his brother, that boy will always need his mom, a regular caretaker. So it's, again, my perspective is not super informed about the situation. I know that there are lots of gradations and this is like a huge spectrum. So I honestly don't know where he fell on this.
Because they were doing both. They were doing both. And it was not... I think we just have to put that down to like a characterization that wasn't well researched. Like they tried to... I don't know.
At least they tried to do too many things and maybe didn't answer...
They did two opposite things in the same character without necessarily understanding the difference.
Yeah, they could have had an autistic character who didn't require his sister to run into a police station because he had accidentally offended a barista because he only liked his coffee in a specific way, so he would only...
because you can have a meltdown and not get arrested. Exactly. Like, that can happen.
They chose to show the situation where he was misunderstood because he couldn't explain that because he needed his coffee done in a specific way, he would go only when that particular barista was there. So he was misunderstood. So he needed his family to come and get him out of that situation. They showed us this and also his health issues, which I actually like. The fact that they showed that he had health issues that required his family to be very conversant with emergency procedures, that was great. But like you said, they were doing too many things with this character. So I think it comes down to, again, not enough autistic representation in media. So when they finally have a character, they try to do too much with him.
Or just not enough knowledge of how ASD expresses.
And people who have the knowledge and the experience to be involved in these productions.
That said, like, I would never like write off a show that's trying because you have to get through a lot of bad before you get to the good rep. So these are all like growing pains, I see.
I
But
think that's fair.
yeah, I didn't enjoy that romance. That's all I have
Yeah.
to say. Can we talk about Shinjae?
Yes, let's talk about Shinjae. I know you've been waiting. All right.
Whenever he turns up in a show, I'm like, either you're the most lovable dork, you are the puppy, or you are the puppy killer. So, like, as soon as I saw him, I was like,
Here's a puppy killer pretending to be a
Yeah.
lovable puppy.
you're right. Because, like, if you come off, like, the Crazy Love Hangover, where it was the same placed character who was doing the things.
Honestly, don't even have any memories of that particular plot line.
But like the right-hand man is the one who's like secretly like evil.
Well, to be fair, he's not secretly evil. He was manipulated. Yeah.
Oh yeah, also that, which was also annoying. Crazy Love is a drama that annoyed me in many ways that I didn't want to say at the time because Anisa really loved it. But
I really loved it.
there were
too.
things about the drama that I just was like, I was not okay with.
we were not in it for the murder plot. Okay, I know that is where your mind always goes.
No, it wasn't. In that drama, Kim Joke, right? He is a terrible person for a long time.
Yeah.
And he doesn't actually atone, and he doesn't actually like deserve the redemption that he got. Like the extent to which he was awful was not repaid.
That was my sister's complaint
Correctly.
too. She was like, they didn't punish him enough. She was
Right.
like, it wasn't enough for me. I was like, okay, that's fair. That's pretty fair. It's a fair critique. I honestly was watching it with my critical brain turned completely off. So
A very unusual happening, which is why I didn't want to like harsh your squeak.
right, for me that doesn't happen.
It's
too
like, let
often.
her love her drama. Don't go ruining the one drama she like really loves.
I wouldn't
Leave her
say that I
alone.
really loved it. I just like had fun. That was a fun
You enjoyed
time.
it, and
Yes,
it was.
yes.
I remember you found it very healing and relaxing. I was like, okay, I'm not
Yes.
going to go saying these unnecessary critical things about
I'm
it.
not going to point out how the murder plot is not working out.
So this is also like the thing that got me about the murder plotline in this show is that actually I was very interested in it. I think it was done like intriguingly. I found the mystery mysterious, and I did figure out like who it was. But like, I don't think his like motivations for doing what he did was really well fleshed out or explained. Like he did it. We gave him like a one sentence backstory so that we can just explain away what he did. But actually, what we just wanted to do was put a murderer here. Doesn't matter why. He's a murderer. He's here. But then they kind of wrapped up that story early. Like I think with an episode or 2 episodes to spare, and it felt poorly paced because when they were done with it, they were just done with it. Like it was so overgone and forgotten. You're like, well, why
Everybody
did we
forgot
have
about
that
it.
then?
It ramped
like
up
why was
so
that even
abruptly,
there?
and then it was like it didn't even happen. Yeah. No, that's
But then
very
also
true.
it was like, he committed all of these murders, and then he got to have like a hero's tragic death, and I didn't like that as a redemption. Like he didn't need a redemption. He needed to be called to account for the fact that he'd committed these crimes. And I felt that the ending that they gave him was not exactly hero, but maybe an anti-hero tragic ending that was meant to milk your emotions.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think I wasn't too. I do think that it ended really abruptly, and then it was like no one remembered that it had happened. Like this huge traumatic thing. I was like, so you're not gonna like go to therapy after this, or like have nightmares? Or, that's fine. Everyone's just gonna be happy. Okay, but like I think the reason that it worked for me was because I didn't see that as a redemption. I feel like what I saw that was like a way, it was like an additional, and I think this is why the murder plot like in this drama I felt like it worked well with the rest of the show, is because I saw it as more of a commentary on like the way that the system fails young people, and the way that this private tutoring and like educational system has failed Shinjae has older sister and him, and like because I feel like a lot of this was about kids. And it wasn't only about kids trying to academically do well in school. It was also about kids being put into this like pressure cooker of expectation and being told like this is the only thing that your life is going to be about, and that's the only thing that you can really spend time on. and this is what your whole life, and then eventually, like, who knows if you'll even be successful, even if you do all of the things that you're asked to do as a student, like giving up all of your time, studying until 11 p.m. every night, you know, being in this like hyper competitive pressure cooker where you're always trying to be number one. Like, I think that his end was like a tragedy of like a failure of people not being able to save him when he was young enough. And so, like, would I preferred that he didn't die? Yes, but I think it was also like not a redemption for him. It was more like a failure of the system, or at least I think that's what they were trying to do, and I thought it kind of worked. It wasn't perfect. I don't think it was
I
perfect.
think they were too fond of the visual poetry of his
This is exactly
sister,
what I was going to say.
yeah, sister dying, jumping and dying, and mom getting pushed and dying.
That is
and
true,
then, of course,
actually.
he jumps.
But also,
And
like the visual sort of
Yeah.
the vignette of his own ending, like the work was put into painting that particular vignette in as tragic a way as possible. And to me, that felt manipulative because you hadn't given me reasons to really understand. He didn't have enough interiority, I think is what I'm trying to say.
That's true. That's true. The one glimpse we got of his room didn't tell us enough about all of him.
But what that really gave you was more kind of like, oh, well, here's a, I don't know, creepy psychopath killer vibe, rather than here's an abused, tortured kid, and then like a bit more. Like, they didn't give you enough. And it focused on painting that moment without giving you that sort of meta on who he was.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because what that ending does is steals real justice or closure for everybody who died because of him. Because he just
the sussing the sussing girl from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, she just disappeared without a trace. She was never mentioned again. Like, bodies turned up of other people. She just, like, she was disappeared and never mentioned again.
Yeah, that was weird.
Neither
that
was her body
definitely
found.
a dropped thread. Yeah. They just totally
just
skipped
bizarre. Yeah, I was a bit mad about that.
Yeah. The touches in this drama that I really liked is kids lose a schoolmate one day, dies. And then the parents are coming to the principal the next day and be like, yeah, open the school because we can't have the kids. It's fine. They go through hardship. Their classmates die. It's fine. They can start studying again. You don't want them to do badly in their tests because they took one day off for their mental health.
Are you going to take responsibility for them not getting into a Sky College?
This line that is so often used in drama lines, are you going to take responsibility? What the heck does that even... On the other hand, I really loved the kids. Like Anisa said, everything with like
was
the high
great.
school.
I loved her.
Was so sweet. Her relationship with her mom/aunt was just it was so great. Like she's a teenager. She has conflicting feelings. She knows that her mom left her with her aunt, and on the one hand, like, a part of her, the rebellious teenager part, is like, I don't want to be a burden on my aunt, and on the other hand, there is a part of her which is like, she is my mom. I can absolutely ask things of her and like throw tantrums and like all of those. So it's just such a lovely
like emotional
mix.
Safety. Yeah.
It was
I could
so
have
great.
done without the sort of neat pairing off of her choosing like who to go out with. Like, I would have been happier with that left open.
Yeah.
Like, let them live their lives. They're like, what, 18? Leave them alone.
I know. And also,
don't have to make them choose already.
Agreed. I agreed. I actually thought that that's what they were going for, that they were going to leave it open. But, of course, they didn't. But... anyway, it was great. It was just like that whole
I'm griping,
set of
but I
kids
did
was so
enjoy
good.
it.
It was cute. Come on. Oh my god. What was he? A hockey player? What was the athlete?
Oh, he was so great. I really liked him.
I loved him so much.
I was shipping him. Maybe that's why I
was
salty.
too, but also
he had second lead written over.
He did.
Like from the first scene.
But everything about that performance was just the most enjoyable. Like, anytime I saw him on screen, I was just like, oh, you're here. I love you. I also like I just wanted to give a shout out to the actress who played Hei. Her name is Royun So. She was so good in this. She was also so good in Our Blues.
Our Blues.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know where this girl came from. I'm like, she's one to watch. She is so talented. Like the difference between those two roles and like what she had to do in both of those roles, like very impressive. And 2022, Our Blues was actually her acting debut.
What?
Whoa.
And she killed it. In a very, I'm not going to spoil what happens in Our Blues, but it was not an easy role to play. It was very like demanding. So
hold on, I was just looking up this kid, the one who was playing the kid
Yimin Jae.
second lead, Yiming Jae, yeah. And he has a main lead drama already lined up for this year.
Foster
Nice.
for Boys.
It's Oh Young Shim, and it's coming out sometime later this year, but okay.
he also has a lot more credits to his name, to be fair, than she does.
Yeah.
He's been doing dramas since 2016. Woman with a Suitcase.
Okay.
He was in
Oh,
Woman with a
Parama's
Suitcase.
drama.
I recap that.
Yeah.
It's a bit part.
It was terrible.
Oh, that was bad. That was bad. I continued watching it so that I could continue to read your recaps. Otherwise, I would dropped it.
I'm so sorry.
But
I'm
he was,
sorry, I didn't even read the recaps after I got bored in the first episode.
But he was in Mystery Queen. He was in Terrius Behind Me. He was in While You Were Sleeping. He was in
Wow.
Taxi Driver, Sell Your Haunted House. A lot of these are like cameos and guest roles in like one episode. Racket Boys, Love All Play.
Wow. He was in
Blossom, Steal the Fate, The Golden Spoon, Cheer Up. Like he's done a lot of stuff.
He's been in everything.
Yeah, so I mean,
guess he's due for his lead role then.
Give him a lead role, yeah. Especially like this was one of those perfect matchups of a character and an actor that sometimes happen with like side character roles. Kind of
like what's his name in Thingy?
Yeah, like the 30 but 17.
Hyusup.
Hyusup, yes.
Yeah.
Like his role as the nephew in 30 but 17 was like such a perfect match for
But
him.
also the other one. Oh,
you know who
shoot.
I'm trying to say?
Yes, of
Little
course I
Agent
know who
Key.
you're saying. What's
Maybe
come on, Hotel Del Luna, second lead.
Ido-hyun?
Ido-hyun.
Yes, Ido-hyun. Ido-hyun was also still in 30 but 17, but that wasn't
that's
the role
what we were saying.
Yeah. Okay. He wasn't as memorable in that. Like I didn't see
it was
the
a bit bad. Like he
Hwang
actually
In-yup. Come on, this is who I'm trying to
Hwang
remember.
In-yup. Yes.
Yeah.
Also he got Hwang In-yup in True Beauty also had that like exactly the perfect match between character and actor.
Yeah.
That's true.
While we're talking about lead roles, I just want to take a moment to mourn that Shin Jae-ha returning from military service has not ascended to lead role status, which is really disappointing because he's got the talent. I don't know why he can't be a lead. He's so good. I guess he's going to be a supporting actor forever then.
No, not forever. He has the face and the talent. It's just something about the roles he's been choosing. It tends to. I'm not sure. Then he went on to do Taxi Driver.
Oh, I haven't seen season 2 of that yet. But yeah, I mean, this is the point where you're like, I don't know if this is the availability of roles or if this is what he's choosing among what he's getting. Like,
Well, he has a main role in a drama called Evil Live that is to be announced.
He really needs to do a main lead in a rom-com before going off to these things. I don't know why.
This one seems like a thriller.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what he's
of
interested
course.
in.
he's got
You
the
can
eyes.
kind of see that.
Yeah. He's played a serial killer multiple times.
Right. So it's like a toss-up, right? Is it what they're interested in or is it what they're typecast as? And that's what people see them as. Sometimes it's usually like a combination of the two.
But I want to see the Paroma Day version of him.
Right.
Agu! Ne Agu!
Or even the While You Were Sleeping version of him. It just...
That I didn't watch,
Yeah.
so I don't know. But I did love him in A Paroma Day.
Okay, you need to watch While You Were Sleeping, though. Even if you hate Susie, she's still cool. She's good. She's not offensive in that drama. I like
you
her.
need to stop. You need to not give
I
up
don't
on
hate
these dramas
Susie.
just because.
I don't hate
Oh,
Susie.
you don't?
No,
Oh,
I just,
okay, then watch it.
I just don't find her interesting.
Well, the thing is, it's a Park Hae-ryun drama, right? And those are good.
But did you enjoy it?
I rewatched
Yeah.
it really recently,
Okay,
and
okay.
I think I had been doing it a disservice like the first time I watched it because it was too soon after like I Hear Your Voice, and everything after I Hear Your Voice wasn't good enough. But I rewatched it last year and it was really good. And it's like
really
Jung
good,
Hee
yeah.
in one of his very early roles.
Okay. Okay. I'll
And it's one to watch with the family. You'll enjoy that watching it with everyone.
Like it's got one of the best intro episodes, like the first 2 episodes. I won't spoil it. Just watch it.
And it's got a really beautiful OST as well, and the mood. It's really
all right. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
I will check it out at some point.
You say that you weren't being fair to this the first time we watched it, but we actually recorded some 4 different episodes.
You guys did like
did,
first
but you know what I
impressions,
got?
weekly recaps.
But I think, I remember a show by how I felt about the ending. And when it ended, the first time around, I remember being a bit dissatisfied. Then my sister watched it last year and she was obsessed with it. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll, see what it's all about. And it was so good. And I had the same experience with Pinocchio. Like the first time I watched it, both of them came too soon after I Hear Your Voice for me.
You know what I think?
And I was trying to capture
I also
that.
was feeling a little bit of like, you guys are going to hate me and kick me off the podcast, but I'm just going to say this. I think I was feeling a little bit of Lee Jung-suk fatigue at this point as well. And like, I just didn't really want to see him in another drama.
Yeah.
Like I was like,
he was having a drama a year at that point.
Yeah,
right?
and like Pinocchio was good, but it wasn't that good. Or at least I didn't enjoy it that much at the time.
If you rewatch it,
maybe
I
for
think
the
you'd
same
enjoy
reason,
it
it kind of there were things about Pinocchio that like really annoyed me. So then when this came out, I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm gonna just watch Live Up to Your Name instead.
Okay.
Not a bad choice.
But
though.
you guys have like convinced me that it's worth going back to. So eventually,
I would even watch it again while you were sleeping.
I have rewatched it twice. And
oh wow, okay.
The first time, I agree with you, the ending was a little unsatisfactory, especially because the first like 2/3 was packed. So the final arc felt like a little loosely structured and like not as impactful. But then the second time I watched it, I couldn't even remember why I was complaining about the ending.
Why did I think this wasn't good? It's so good.
Everything fits so neatly.
Have K-dramas gotten worse?
So enjoying.
And maybe rather than getting worse, they've like compared to what you're watching now, maybe it feels fresh. Whereas maybe compared to what you were watching then, it didn't feel quite as fresh because like K-drama go through trends, right? Of like what kind of drama. And so sometimes it's like, oh, I've seen like 3 or 4 of these types of shows. Whereas maybe now we haven't been watching
I think you have
those.
a very good point. You make a very good point, except for the fact that I rewatched it like 6 months after the original airing schedule.
So maybe it's just good.
No, for me, it really was just trying to recapture how I felt with I Hear Your Voice. And
I Hear Your Voice is such a singular drama. I don't think there's ever going to be anything again.
Yeah,
like
agreed.
But that said, I feel like I Hear Your Voice is like it transcends like ranking, whereas things like Pinocchio and While You Were Sleeping, like they shouldn't be compared because they were also really, really top tier dramas. Like I don't have any complaints. I mean, I have complaints in the way that I like picking things apart that I like, as in I enjoy doing that, as we all do. But as a full package drama, those two are like exemplary.
I agree. I at that point I was like, Lee Jung-suk is just hitting it out of the park with his drama choices. Like what?
And Park Hae-ryun is a master. And I think that has gone underappreciated in recent years because she's been less active. But like, as you said, like at that time, the fantasy drama was a trend. And we haven't had a good fantasy drama for a long time. I want one of those again.
Murder fantasy at that point
Mystery
was done.
fantasy.
Mystery fantasy at that point was done so well.
Yeah.
And I think the murder rom-com of today is trying to recapture what that trend did, but it can't because it's just not
because there's no magic.
Well. Yeah.
Like you think this is the era of like, You From Another Star. What's the official title for that these days?
You From Another Star is all I can think of.
Yeah, no, it does have a different title, but I can't think of it right now.
The one with Jun Ji-hyun and
it's
Kim
like My
Soo-hyun.
Something Love, isn't it? Or like
My Love from the Star.
My Love from the Star.
Yeah, that's the one. And it's like, if you even say the original title these days, nobody will know what you mean. So you have to be very like specific. That era of like these slightly ethereal, slightly esoteric kind of, but like it trod the line between sci-fi and fantasy in a very elegant way, which we haven't seen recently. And I think like The King tried, but it sort of got hung up. There were it had its issues that we've talked about.
Before The King, and I do see that as a bit of a watershed, the sci-fi, fantasy, romance fantasy, thriller fantasy, all of these stories seem to try and make intelligent plots so that the audience had to work to understand. You had to pay attention. The rules made sense to a large extent. Like a lot of people, when you think of time travel dramas, the reason I still absolutely love Queen Huntsman is
so good.
The plot is intelligent enough, the relationship dynamics changing as he goes back and forth in time. All of this stuff not just makes sense, but it makes intelligent sense. Like her...
And it creates suspense.
It creates
which
suspense.
is also really important.
The plot doesn't have to over-explain itself. It's almost inevitable. Like you can see what problem they are going to face if he is pulled back into history suddenly, and then he is, and you know what's coming. And it's smart because the audience anticipates it, and the writing anticipates the audience anticipating it. It's intelligent is what I'm trying to say. And I have not seen that intelligence in the plot structures.
Like asking the audience to do some work, which but that's also true. We haven't had that for a while.
Also, working with the audience to create a storytelling experience. I feel like the stories today, I won't say they are dumber, but they are simplified to an absurd degree where it's not fun. Like the murder rom-com wouldn't be such a big deal if it was interesting. It's never interesting.
Yeah. It's that like trying to appeal to a broader audience, and then by the same token, like then prioritizing style over substance.
Yeah.
In some ways. I think that's part of what's happening. Any final thoughts on Crash Course in Romance? I think for me, it was a satisfying, good watch. I enjoyed myself.
I did have to watch it at like 1.2 to 1.4 speed. So
it was a relaxing.
That was how I would enjoy it.
It was like it was pretty mellow, despite the murder. I think it was like a warm and kind of a hangout show, honestly, for me. Just hanging out with
it was a very
people
relaxing
in this
show.
neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a show that I could have on in the background and cook. So that was nice. Because I didn't have to be intensely focusing on the screen all the time. But the scenes were simple enough that even if I missed a few lines of dialogue, I could come back and the context would tell me what's going on. I never missed any scenes with the male lead and the female lead. With everybody else, I was a bit like, okay, I can walk around, go chop potatoes for a bit. Yeah.
I do have a Jung Kyung-ho request though, which is, can you be a detective soon, please?
That's your request for everyone that you like. That's not a Jung Kyung-ho.
He was a prison guard. Go watch Prison Playbook.
Oh, that's true. No, that's like one of those big dramas that I need like mental preparation for because it's such an institution of a drama.
The ensemble cast, like you would have to pay attention to every scene. You can't just walk around.
It's a drama that needs to be seriously watched. Capital S, capital W, for sure. That's one of the reasons I haven't seen it yet, too.
Oh, guys.
Parma's like, you two are dysfunctional. I cannot. I can see it on her face. It's okay.
I feel like at the end of this year, we're going to record our long yaks. No, what do we call them? Year-end yaks. And I am still going to be the one with like 40 dramas. And you guys together will be like 10.
We've been talking about the dramas I've watched like in the last 7 months, basically. So, I mean, we've still got a couple that I haven't got through, but we'll get to those too.
Okay. I actually think you're watching a lot more dramas already this year than you were watching last year. That's the sense.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you a secret. I checked in on Goodreads and it was July and I hadn't started a 2023 bookshelf because I have a bookshelf for every year. And I was like, that's a record. You literally have not read a book this year, or you read something and you didn't add it to the shelf, but I don't remember because of that
It's not
calendar
on the
discussion
shelf.
we had. Yeah. So then I was like, I'm ashamed. Read a book. I read a book. And then I suddenly had a lot of room in my head. And okay, the BTS mill is like, it's ever rolling. And I've reached a certain level of exhaustion with it. Like Jungkook's single is coming out in like a week. And the promo is really exhausting. I'm just not interested in like
everywhere.
a lot of it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, time to watch a drama, and I just hit a drama. I can't even remember which one it was. Oh yeah, it was Crash Course. I was like, oh, well, this is nice. I have room in my head again.
So now you
And,
can come
know,
and watch See You in My 19th Life with us.
I think I will. I think
Please
I will.
do.
It's been nice to be like to have some room in my head.
Also, I know you might not feel the same way that I do about An Bo-hyun, but come on, An Bo-hyun and Shin Hye-sun is such an epic pairing. Like, it's so good. Both of them can do so much.
Yeah, I mean, Shin Hye-sun is enough to
Shin
lure me
Hye-sun
to a
is
project.
already enough. Yes, yes.
I probably shouldn't admit here that I haven't finished Mr. Queen, and I thought I would pick that one up next. So I'm working through dramas that have been on the list.
I am proud of you. You are doing it.
Fighting.
Yes.
All right.
Fighting. Okay. So join us on the next long yak we do. We will do more dramas, and maybe I will talk more, not more, maybe I'll talk some about a 1,000-year-old vampire who went to sleep for 100 years, woke up and had to take up a janitor's job because the gold he had saved up got stolen. Oh, no. And now he has to survive in the modern world.
You know, I'm
featuring Taekyon.
Oh, P, your elevator pitches are hilarious.
I'm so against vampire dramas, but everything that Paroma says about Heartbeat just makes me want to watch it, and I'm like so conflicted. Also, Tech. I love Tech.
Yeah. I'm loving him so much in this drama.
This is so funny to me because, like, I remember the Anisa who did not love Tech.
Yes, I've had an evolution, and he has had an evolution, and I'm so here for his evolution. Like, Vincenzo completely, like, blew me away. I was like...
But I love that he went from Vincenzo, where he's, like, pure evil, but also so much fun, to Heartbeat. Like, I swear this boy really loves humor, like to play funny characters.
Yeah,
because
he's
do you guys
found
remember
his vibe.
Yeah, the school sort of like ghost shaman drama that he did.
Yeah, with Kim Soo-hyun.
Who Are
yeah.
You? I think
I didn't watch it. Yeah.
No, not that one.
That was the one with the other person.
The Come On Fight Me. No, that's not the name.
Bring It On Ghost.
What's up,
Bring It On
Bring It On Ghost. Yeah.
Bring It On Ghost. That one, dude.
Who Are You was also about a ghost, though. It was also about
Who Are You is the first tech drama that I watched, and I didn't hate him. I actually really liked him. He played a detective. Guess what?
He was bad for a while, and then he was fine for a while. Who Are You was in his fine period.
He was
and now
fine,
he's like good, excellent, hilarious, amazing.
He is carrying this drama. He just is. I wouldn't say this is the. We will talk about it in the next.
We'll talk about it next time. Yes.
Yes.
You know, this is what's really fun about being in the drama land space for like over a decade is you can actually see these things and you can observe yourself changing as well as like the talent changing. And I think we're in that really interesting phase where a lot of these sort of the people who are like stars in their 20s are aging into their 30s and 40s. And it's such an interesting moment. Like, I don't know if it's like a moment, but like it feels like a moment. Like all of these...
For us, it's a moment, right? Like as fans who have been like watching these people for like 10 to 15 years at this point.
Yeah.
To be like, oh my gosh, like I remember you way back when, and now look at you now. Like it's like when you see like Jisung and Lee Bo-young with their babies, like, and their babies are grown up, and you're like, what? Oh my gosh.
Where did the time go?
Yes. and we spent so many years just rewatching Cruel City for Jung Kyung-ho, and to have Jung Kyung-ho come into
I mean, I watched it for the first time last year, so I'm sorry, nothing is gonna top that role for me for him.
That role was seriously epic.
So the drama was on fire, but he was something else. Yeah. Okay, let's leave it there. So where can people find us?
Where can people find us?
Where can people find us? They can find us on Twitter at Dramas Overflow. You can find me at Not Now Sire.
You can find me on Twitter at Anisa Khalifa _.
You can find me at The Drama Notes, and you can find us on Instagram and Threads, even though that's like not a public account yet, at Dramas Over Flowers _. And you can email us at dramasoverflowers@gmail.com.
And you can find us on Facebook, Dramas Over Flowers, and our website where you can find things to read is dramasoverflowers.net.
And you can sign up to our newsletter over at dramasoverflowers.substack.com. Also, the link is in the description. And you can also leave us a voice note.
A link to which you will also find it. Yes.
Yes. And also, thank you for leaving us notes on Spotify. We are reading and enjoying them so much.
We wish we could respond to you, but Spotify doesn't allow us to do that yet. So we are publishing them for everyone else to read as well. Thank you so much. Also, guys, before we sign off today, we don't usually ask for this, but if you have a moment, we would love it if you could leave us a review on your preferred podcast listening site. That really helps.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And it makes us happy.
And it makes us really happy.
That is the most important.
The real reason
that is the
it makes us
primary
happy.
reason.
Yes.
Every time we see a new review, I'm like screenshotting and sending it to these guys, and we're like dying inside. Yes. So if you want us to die inside,
Yes.
yeah.
We're not dying inside, we're dying outside.
that too.
Because it's hot.
Also, I mean, I feel like with Paroma in the room, nobody can complain about heat, but that won't stop me. I'm English.
The person who lives in the least hot place.
I know.
Yeah.
But also the least equipped to deal with any kind of temperature change beyond temperate. So, yeah. Nobody needs to feel sorry for me. And they don't, I'm sure.
All right, guys.
But I will feel sorry for myself. Okay, that's it. Bye.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed it.
And come back next time too if we didn't scare you away.
Yes. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.